Hey, it's Amber at Orange Olive Road. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all my videos. In this video, we are going to be making these adorable little bunny bums, bunny booties, or bunny butts in a pot. You might see them all over Pinterest. It's one of those classic DIY springtime or Easter crafts. And I've made these over the years with my kids, but now that we have some knitting machines, I thought this might be a fun take on a classic DIY. So let's get started. To make your very own bunny bum, you're going to need a 22 needle knitting machine and some yarn. In this particular case, I'm going to be using Bernard's Pipsqueak. I'm also going to make another bunny bum in this Snuggle Up in soft pink. You can see here, yes, it's a fur, but it's very thin, so it works good in my machine. You're going to need some pink for the feet, and then also I'm going to actually make the most of my feet in the white yarn here. That's a worsted weight yarn. Then you're going to need a terracotta pot or a plastic pot. And then you're going to need some polyfiber. So you'll need it for both your bunny bum and also for stuffing your pot. Then something for tails. You can use a pom-pom like that, a needle, scissors of course, and then you're going to need some other embellishments for decoration. So I'm going to use some moss and a variety of flowers that I have in my craft stash. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and cast on. We're going to make our bodies first. Now when you're casting on with Pipsqueak, be careful because sometimes it gets stuck and jammed in my machine, so just use caution. If you're using Pipsqueak or fur, you're going to need to knit 22 rows for the large bum. If you were going to knit a small or medium bum, go ahead and knit 15 rows. Once your work is off the loom, go ahead and give it a nice stretch. We are only going to be working with the opposite side, right? So the purl side or the inside is the one that actually shows all of the fur, right? So go ahead and flip that inside out, and then you're gonna start pulling those tails shut. Now, I struggle with Pipsqueak because you can see here, I can't really get it to kind of pull close. So just use caution and just, be gentle and kind of pull close to it. Sometimes I'll use worsted weight yarn to cast on and off just to avoid snapping this. If you can't get it pulled all the way closed, that's okay. Just go ahead and thread a needle, and then you'll go ahead and just sew the end closed. You won't be able to see it because the Pipsqueak yarn is it's kind of forgiving, right? So you won't be able to see those stitches and the details. Plus, one side is going to be facing down into the pot, and then the other side is going to have it's going to be covered by a tail. So you can see right here I have this little hole that's in there that doesn't want to play nice. See that? So I'm going to pull it close as much as I can, but then I'm just going to use my needle to see if I can get it to close all the way. Okay. So I'll go ahead and we'll thread it, and then we'll get this hole closed up. No problem. Again, the yarn is very forgiving. You can't really see, so even just kind of getting in there is a little bit challenging. All right, so once you got it in there, go ahead and secure it, and then you're going to pull it through to the other side, just like this. Then you want to stuff it, shape it, keep shaping, don't overstuff it. You don't want the stuffing to show through. Okay, so now that I've got it stuffed to about the size I want, I'm going to go ahead and pull it closed. I don't show it here, but I am going to kind of roll it around, and then I'm going to secure it. You can see here the size comparison, the 22 rows versus the 15 rows. So I'm also going to make one in worsted weight. I'm going to knit 35 rows because we need to be able to double it up so that the stuffing doesn't show through. Once you are done knitting your 35 rows, you're going to go ahead and cast off and give it a nice big stretch to release that tension. Okay, so you can see you got those nice stitches. Now you're going to pull it like you're making a miniature beanie, just like this. Okay, and so you'll see I spent a lot of time actually smoothing out my work just because I want it to look as neat as possible. So go ahead and pull those ends just like this. And I'm gonna go pretty quick. I'm gonna decide I like the light side, so I'm gonna go ahead and just massage and just get that bottom real nice and smooth. Going to make a knot here, just like this, cut a little bit, and then I'm gonna take that other end and hide it inside. Now, I'm gonna close up this other end. So I'm going to spend some time smoothing this out to get this ridge as clean as possible. Then I'm gonna take my needle and I'm gonna go in those ridges. See that right there? That's where I'm gonna run my yarn through. So if you've seen my other projects, you've seen me do this. So I'm gonna take this needle and I'm going to thread it and go all the way around just like this until I end up in the same place that I started. This will allow us to pull the other end closed. You can see here, I'm ready to stuff. So now I'm gonna put my stuffing inside. Again, you don't wanna overstuff it. So again, just kind of shape it and kind of pull it. You don't wanna lose the shape of the stitches, right? And you definitely don't want all of your stuffing to show through. But you can see here, I'm gonna continue to massage because I want that bum to be nice and smooth as possible, just like that. That really is a very pretty color, actually. So I'm gonna add a little bit more stuffing. Now that I'm done, I'm gonna close it up. Okay, keep smoothing, keep shaping, just like that. And then now I'm going to knot it and pull it closed. Just like this, I'm going to cut my ends. Okay, and I'm gonna smooth it out some more, just like this. So I wanted to take a moment here and do a size comparison for you. So you can see worsted weight 35 rows, and then the fur, the pipsqueak, is only 15 rows. This is the larger, right? So again, kind of the size comparison you can see, so each of those, right, are going to be a pretty significant size difference. So that's 22 rows, that is 35 rows, and that is 15 rows. So now we're going to start making our feet. So if you were going to make small feet, you want to knit 7 rows, medium feet are about 10 rows, and larger feet are going to be 13 rows. Now when you're knitting on a 22 needle knitting machine, just a couple of rows makes all the difference. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cast off here. You can see these are small feet, so this is only 7 stitches right here. So you can see it's a little bit challenging to work with, so you kind of have to be careful, you know, kind of line up your rows just like this, but again, pull gently, looks like a flower. So just kind of go ahead and start pulling this shut. Again, it is a little bit awkward because it is such a tiny piece, but just take your time. You'll see as I'm starting to pull it here, I have to manipulate it quite a bit because it's starting to already kind of pull in on itself, but that's what you want. So after I'm done, I'm going to roll it on itself just like this, okay, to kind of get it nice and smooth, right? Now I'm going to take my needle and I am actually going to run stitches back and forth, okay? So just like this. You don't have to worry about mattress stitching this because you're not going to see it. You will be placing this up against the back of the terracotta or plastic pot, so it's not going to matter. Okay, the point is that when you're making these, that you want your 2 feet to be even. That's the most important thing, right? So you want 2 of the same size feet as close as possible. Once you've finished threading it just like that or sewing it up the top, you're going to go ahead and secure it and then trim the ends just like this. Now I'm going to kind of squish it and shape it just like that, and I am going to make as many as I need. In this case, I need 2. So here are my 2 feet. Again, remember, you want them the same size. Now for the larger feet, right, so I'm not going to roll it as much as I did for the small foot, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing where I am just going to kind of tuck it in on itself just a little bit, get those seams to line up. I'm not going to roll it like I did the last one, but I'm just going to kind of fold it in on itself. But the same process, I'm going to run stitches down the back just like this. Again, I'm not worried about mattress stitching here. I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth, just like a little whip stitch like this. Okay, back and forth, all the way up to the top. Again, remember, you don't want to pull too tight. You want to keep these even, and you want them to lay slightly flat when you put them up against the terracotta or plastic pot. So you can see a little closer what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just picking up and going under those 2 V's. All right, so 1, 2, just like that. You can see I'm not pulling too tight. I'm using as even tension as possible as I'm going through and up the side. Out of focus, there I am, there I'm back. And again, you can see I'm gonna flatten and kind of work that, and you can see nice even stitches. I know the white's a little hard to see. So once you got it to where you want it, go ahead and tie it closed. And then you're going to weave in the ends and trim. Okay, so just trim it there. Save me a little bit of time. I'm gonna thread those onto my needle, and then I'm going to weave it in back here, just like that. Okay. And one final trim. There we go. Okay, and again, you want 2 of those. You want to make sure they're as smooth as possible. Okay, so here I have them here, same size, nice and smooth. Now we're going to go ahead and make some tails. So for smaller medium tails, I'm only going to knit 5 to 6 rows. Now for a larger tail, I'm going to knit 8 rows and then cast it off just like this. Now once I have my work off the loom, I'm going to pull each end just like this. I haven't folded it in on itself because it wasn't big enough. So all I'm really doing is just pulling both sides closed and kind of in on themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep securing like this. Go ahead and cut my end, and I'm going to roll it in my hand. I didn't stuff it at all. So you can see it makes a nice little fluff just like that. Now this one is much smaller, so it's a little bit more challenging. It's also a thinner pipsqueak than the white is, so it can be a little bit challenging, but again, I'm just going to kind of keep pulling it until it kind of closes up. So you kind of have to figure out where the stitches want to go, where your rows are, and then again I'm going to pull both those ends. And I've kind of pulled them in on itself just so it makes that sphere or that circle, right, that little ball, just like that. Okay, so it's super tiny. So you can see on this side that is going to be 5 rows versus 8 rows. When it comes to adding embellishment to your feet, really the sky is the limit. So you can see here I actually just used a duplicate stitch with a straight stitch to kind of give some details to that paw or that foot. I'm also going to use felt on another one because I just wanted to see how that might look. I free-handed these ovals. I will never do that again. I have a Cricut, so I will use my Cricut because trying to get those little itty-bitty pieces was not a fun experience for me. But so I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those there. You can also use paint, like puffy paint would also be, I think, very pretty and cool. So now's the really exciting part because everything's going to come together. So I'm actually going to stuff mine with polyfill here, this pot. You can also use a little bit of paper, you can use a styrofoam ball, but the point is that you want to make sure that your bunny and all your embellishments sit closer to the top of the pot, just like this. So I'm going to kind of look to see kind of where I want it, if I need, more or less polyfill, but I'm going to put moss right here and other embellishments. Again, so I'm going to kind of push it down, but once I'm happy with where it's at, I'm going to start to add my moss. So I add my moss first just so I can kind of, get it to where I want it to go. I'm going to fill in those gaps just like this as much as possible, and I'm going to start to glue the inside just like this and start attaching all of my embellishments. Of course, remember, your creativity, right? Whatever you want to do. There's also lots of different color mosses. I found some really pretty dark green moss. There's purple and orange moss that I've seen at Michael's. This particular moss I got at Joann's. I think it was like $5 a bag, and there was quite a bit. There might even be more on my floor now than there is on the table, but it's a lot of fun. So you can see here, I didn't show this one in the video, but I have a ball that I made with Fur the Moment. Right, so it's that fur. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a good amount, it's a little off frame, but I'm going to add a good amount of hot glue, just like this. And then I'm going to set my body right inside. Right, so again, this kind of gives the illusion that the bunny is digging into the pot. So if it's a little bit messy, that is perfectly okay, and I think it just adds to the aesthetic. So I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue just right here on the edge to hold that bunny body in place. We don't want it to fall out and make a mess. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of angle it just a little bit to kind of give that effect, right? That it's kind of at a, not quite a 45-degree angle, but just slightly, right, tilted forward, just so that it looks like it's running in there. You can see here that's a small one. So again, I'm gonna add some hot glue, add my stuffing just like that, add some moss, and I'm gonna follow the same process as I go. Okay. So again, some more hot glue. I'm gonna kind of squish it in there just the way that I like it. That looks good to me. I'm gonna add some more glue just to keep it nice and secure. I'm gonna add my fun color little tail right there. And then now I'm going to glue my feet. Now when you're gluing your feet, you don't wanna put them, you know, you wanna put them slightly up onto the pot, because the first ones I made, I put my foot down too far and it was detached from the body. So you kind of want to glue your foot so that it kind of pushes up into the body. That gives it that more realistic or naturalistic look. Okay? So I'm going to glue that there, and I'm going to kind of push it into the body just a little bit. If your feet kind of look detached from the body, then go ahead and kind of put a little bit of hot glue on the top and then push that body onto the feet a little bit more to give the illusion, right, that their feet actually attached to the bunny. So I'm gonna fluff it up, but I'm really excited. I'm gonna add some more. And again, my embellishments just like this. I'm gonna start adding flowers and little sprigs to wherever I'd like, just for aesthetic. Again, you can use whatever you have in your craft stash. I have lots of flowers. I like to make flower clips for my hair. So I'm gonna add some of those in here just like this. And again too, when you start adding all these embellishments and you start hot gluing them, it actually does secure the rest of the bunny body to the work as a whole, so it hasn't really come apart yet. Okay, so keep adding wherever you would like. Okay, just like that. You can see at the very beginning of the video I made lots of different ones, and I really just pulled stuff that I had out of my closet from last year, things I bought on clearance. So it was really a great way to kind of burn through some stuff I didn't want to have to get rid of per se, but just to kind of go through my stash, and actually I'm really happy with how that turned out. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much.